Today's Monday, July 24th, 2023, and today I'm going to read 1 Kings chapter 13. But before I get to that, I'm going to read a comment that a friend sent to me because he goes over the things that I kind of glossed over in the last video, where I was like, my brain's not really remembering too good all the things that just happened, so I'm only getting surface level understanding of this chapter at this moment. But a friend emailed me, put things into perspective, or at least what makes sense to him, his perspective, and I thought it was a good read and filled in the gaps that were missing in my last video. So I'm going to start today's video off by reading this comment, and then I'll read the chapter. So this is pertaining to the previous two videos. I think after the 10 tribes heard the king of Judah wanted to inflict far worse hardships on them than Solomon, most people just snapped and went crazy with bitterness and anger. On the level of how the Blue Lodge snapped from the Trump presidency. So yeah, putting it into context of today, I thought that was really, really smart. Oh yeah, just think of when Trump went president, the people screeching and screaming in the streets. Like, I agree, that's probably how people were, because just the whole story, they knew that their people had been saved by God, but then they had to wander the desert, and then they probably felt like they can't catch a break, and like when things start going good for them, things immediately start going bad for them right after, and they get very upset with that. And I understand. And it does seem like modern politics, they play off of that by letting the Blue Lodge win sometimes, and then letting the Red Lodge win sometimes, and then playing off of that, going back and forth. They already went through hardships due to Solomon, but at least then there was peace, prosperity, and strong faith. Now it is confused what Judah is offering in exchange for hardship. There is strife and idolatry through the land. To make it worse, the hardship is said to be worse, and by now it is common knowledge that the leaders themselves had committed idolatry. Even what the leaders are doing is confusing. The promise of their hard work paying off was broken and will probably be broken again if they stay with Judah. Religion has become political. People are preoccupied with the rule of Judah. Whenever any discussion happens, they immediately think of it in context with the current big mess, often missing the point through their narrowed vision, or deliberately missing the point, subconsciously or consciously, to support themselves. Imagine trying to be the voice of reason, pointing out the golden calves were idolatry, and did not bring your people out of hardship in Egypt. Others would immediately accuse you of supporting Rehoboam, throwing scorpions at everyone and bringing your people into the same hardship of Egypt. They would call you a traitor or even an enemy spy. If you spoke ill of the phony idolatrous priests, they would call you classless elitist. People would be offended for suggesting their priests were inferior to the Levites, making the lowest of the people. The priest was perhaps to facilitate this. The hatred and bitterness has consumed them, and by associating that with the true God, they have turned away. It's a meme in fiction that the kings are always surrounded by evil chancellors, cunning snakes that are kept around for their skills in controlling the king's subjects and obstructing the king's enemies, but ultimately end up manipulating the king himself. Solomon already tried to kill Jeroboam, so in fearing for his life too much, he listened to those kinds of people too much. He was probably concerned that in order to wrap up this whole mess cleanly, the blame would all go on him. So that's just one person's ideas, opinions about maybe the political climate that's going on there. But I just thought that was a good putting it into perspective of why people were acting the way that they were at the time. And I mean, I was certainly feeling that when I was reading those chapters. I was like, this feels like political unrest. There's mention of a near civil war happening, so. Okay. Now I'm going to read the new chapter. I was thinking of just leaving it there for today, but this chapter's not too long. And, may as well just keep moving forward. Can always go back later and re-go over things. 1 Kings chapter 13. And behold, there came a man of God out of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel, and Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of the Lord, and said, O altar, altar, thus saith the Lord, Behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name, and upon thee shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which the Lord hath spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of God, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, Lay hold on him. And his hand, which he put forth against him, dried up, so that he could not pull it in again to him. Oh, I remember, this is one of the most interesting stories of the Bible. So somebody goes to touch another person, and when he touches him, his hand immediately shrivels up. So interesting. Verse 5, the altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord. And the king answered and said unto the man of God, Entreat now the face of the Lord thy God, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored me again. And the man of God besought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. What a display of power, of God's ability to do anything. That these miracles were happening, and prophets used to actually prophesy things like, this is going to come to pass, and then it would come to pass. Okay. Verse 7, And the king said unto the man of God, Come home with me, and refresh thyself, and I will give thee a reward. And the man of God said unto the king, If thou wilt give me half thine house, I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place. For so was it charged me by the word of the Lord, saying, Eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that thou camest. So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. What a great insult to throw on wealthy people that are trying to schmooze you. Say, even if you offered me half of everything you have, I wouldn't eat with you. So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. Verse 11, Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel, the words which he had spoken unto the king. Them they also told their father. And their father said unto them, What way went he? For his sons had seen what way the man of God went, which came from Judah. And he said unto his sons, Saddle me the ass. So they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon, and went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, Art thou the man of God that camest from Judah? And he said, I am. Then he said unto him, Come home with me, and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee, neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with thee in this place. For it was said to me by the word of the Lord, Thou shalt eat no bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that thou camest. He said unto him, I am a prophet also as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord, saying, Bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him. What an interesting example of a wolf in sheep's clothing. They're still all around today, nothing new. People have always been claiming outrageous things and saying, oh, God told me this. I saw a vision of this. Oh, I died and went to heaven, and I came back, and this is what I saw. And sometimes I think that the people maybe think that they saw things, but who knows who was showing them the visions. Today, it would be really hard today to know where you're getting that information from. What type of entities are in contact with you today? Because I don't personally think that God really talks to people in the same way as he used to. And maybe part of it is because God was sick of the phonies and the confusion of there being true prophets, real people that he actually was speaking to and giving these visions to. So, and maybe now after Jesus Christ, it's because it's finished. it would make sense that God just doesn't talk to us in those ways. Jesus has come and fulfilled everything. He doesn't need lesser prophets anymore. There's no need for lesser prophets after Jesus came. So to me, it makes sense that because it's almost today, I think that it's almost a way to test people. If people come out here saying that God is talking to them in their dreams, I'm highly doubting that at this point, because I just don't think it works like that anymore. Now that there are verses that talk about in the end, many people will dream dreams and have visions. I think that already happens. I think tons of people have apocalyptic dreams, but I don't think that people are being directly communicated with and hearing God's voice in a way that did happen in times past. That's what I'm saying. I believe in the Holy Ghost and the ability of God to work through miracles and things. It's just, I mean, very specific here, saying I highly doubt people who say that God speaks to them today, because I don't believe in that. I don't think that happens. I don't believe people who say that they went to heaven and talked to God and saw Jesus. Maybe they saw something. Maybe it's just their own mind creating the visions. I don't know exactly. Maybe demons are showing people visions. I think that that's a possibility. Anyways, enough rambling on the subject. But I mean, this person was a liar. But he lied unto him. Verse 19. So he went back with him, and so see how easily this person was tricked. All somebody had to do, this person should have just listened to their order by God. God told you to don't ever go back. This person was so easily persuaded by somebody who just walked up. Could be anybody. It could be a slimy sleazeball walks up and says, oh, well, God told me, an angel told me you're supposed to come back. That's all it took for this person to be persuaded. And I think that there's definitely a lesson there. And going back to maybe why God doesn't talk to us like that anymore, it makes it a lot easier to have discernment and not be fooled by people who make outrageous spiritual claims like that. What I think would be outrageous today if somebody walked up and said an angel talked to them. Okay. So he went back with him and did eat bread in his house and drank water. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, forasmuch as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but camest back, and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of the which the Lord did say to thee, Eat no bread and drink no water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. So, yeah, none of this is surprising. I love that about the Bible, when it writes itself almost. You can see what's coming before it even comes. God gave this person a commandment, and he was duped by a wolf in sheep's clothing, who does appear to also be a prophet. Am I reading that correctly? It seems like the person was a prophet, and maybe this is showing that even prophets can lie. And anyways, a lot to pick up here. I'll read from verse 22 again. I don't know if I read this already. But camest back, and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of the which the Lord did say to thee, Eat no bread and drink no water. I did read this. Thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. And it came to pass, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled for him the ass, to wit, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way, and slew him, and his carcass was cast in the way, and the ass stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass. Wow. I wonder if there's any biblical, the depictions, the old Baroque, what they tell us is Baroque era, fine art, just all of those magnificent Renaissance and Baroque paintings of biblical scenes. I wonder if there's one of a lion and an ass sitting next to the slain body of this prophet who disobeyed. Just sounds like an epic scene. And behold, men passed by, and saw the carcass cast in the way, and the lion standing by the carcass. And they came and told it in the city where the old prophet dwelt. And when the prophet that brought him back from the way heard thereof, he said, It is the man of God who is disobedient unto the word of the Lord. Therefore the Lord hath delivered him unto the lion, which hath torn him and slain him, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake unto him. This is interesting. So is this the same? That is a lot to take in. It's almost like the prophet who tricked him to coming back doesn't even feel bad about tricking him, almost. He's like, oh, well, he disobeyed God. And this is getting into very much Kabbalistic / I don't know, if you read the Talmud, when you read the way that these rabbis would pontificate over, well, if I throw a rock and it ricochets off of a building, and then it smashes somebody in the head and they die, am I responsible for it? Like, they seriously spent time asking these ridiculous questions of morality. Well, if it ricochets off the rock, maybe it's not my fault anymore, because now it's up to God how it bounces off the rock. They seriously would sit there and pontificate over stuff like that. Anyways, that's what I'm feeling here in this guy's sentiment. Like, do you feel no shame that you lied about, you're a prophet, and you lied about having an angelic prophecy to lure this man back? He almost seems like he feels justified in his actions. Like, yeah, so what, I tricked this guy, but he disobeyed what God said. Like, God didn't tell me, hey, you don't lie about getting an angelic thing. This is seriously the way that a lot of these people think. It's just bizarre to me. I can't put myself in that type of mind frame, but it is this Talmudic type of logic where, well, God didn't tell me to not try to deceive this prophet, and God directly told that prophet to not come back and eat and drink, so he was the really bad guy there in that situation. I mean, part of me gets it, but part of me laughs and sees the Jewishness of this stuff. And he spake to his son, saying, Saddle me the ass, and they saddled him. And he went and found his carcass cast in the way, and the ass and the lion standing by the carcass. The lion had not eaten the carcass, nor torn the ass. And the prophet took up the carcass of the man of God, and laid it upon the ass, and brought it back. And the old prophet came to the city to mourn and to bury him. And he laid his carcass in his own grave, and they mourned over him, saying, Alas, my brother. Okay, so he's redeeming himself a little bit here. And it came to pass, after he had buried him, that he spake to his son, saying, When I am dead, then bury me in the sepulchre wherein the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones. For the saying which he cried by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel, and against all the houses of the high places which are in the cities of Samaria, shall surely come to pass. After this thing Jeroboam returned not from his evil way, but made again of the lowest of the people priests of the high places. Whosoever would, he consecrated him, and he became one of the priests of the high places. And this thing became sin unto the house of Jeroboam, even to cut it off and to destroy it from off the face of the earth. So this actually goes back to the comment that I was reading that my friend wrote, that really lowly people were being put in positions of power, priests, and yeah, how contrary to the way that things were running at the time. Like, there was a whole family of people that were responsible for priestly duties, and so this seems very contrary to that. Again, not my area of expertise, knowing all the fine details of that stuff, but that's my vague understanding that was a family duty. There was a whole class of people. What they sell today as everybody's the same thing, everybody's born, no matter what you're born, everybody's on the same playing field, that's just not the way that reality works. There's tiers, there's levels, there's classes, and so this to me seems like a breakdown of that system. And what was being mentioned in the comment I read earlier about kings being surrounded by evil subjects, and in this particular case, taking really lowly, bad people and filling them into positions of power. I mean, we see that all over the place today. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.